Hi everyone, this week I'll be taking a recipe I saw online by a YouTuber named Brian Lagerstrom. I'm sure you've heard of him. I'm going to try to put my own spin on it. He made this delicious looking cheesy flatbread, and with my bread and baking knowledge that I learned, I wanted to see if there can be any improvement, so let's get started. We're going to start with 500 grams of bread flour, 8 grams of salt, and 5 grams of yeast. To this, I'm going to add in 350 grams of water, and finally 20 grams of extra virgin olive oil. All we're going to do is give this a good mix with my spatula before I attach it to my stand mixer and let it knead for 5 minutes. So in the original recipe, Brian makes the dough on the same day, but I'll be cold proofing this dough to add some extra flavor since I had all the extra time in the world to prep for this. Cold proofing dough is not difficult at all, and I'm going to show you how it's done. After the 5 minutes of kneading has passed, the dough should be smooth looking, but will be very sticky as it's considered a high hydration dough. When handling the dough, make sure to wet your hands as this will prevent them from sticking to the dough as easily. It's time to do some stretch and folds. Wet your hands and pull the dough over from one side to the other. Turn the bowl 90 degrees and repeat the process until you did 4 stretch and folds. Now flip the dough ball over and try to tuck it under itself to create some tension. This definitely takes some practice, but as you practice more, you'll get the hang of it. I've been learning how to bake better bread for 2 years now, so don't bug out if you don't get it at first. Just keep on trying. Cover this dough with plastic wrap and leave it in the fridge for 30 minutes to let the gluten relax a bit. You're going to think this dough is real shaggy right now, but let me tell you, when you're done with this, it's going to be nice and smooth. Now for the second stretch and fold. We'll repeat the same process, and you can already tell the dough is starting to look more smooth and elastic. And I told you, this is what time does for bread. Can't be too impatient. When finished with the stretch and folds, leave this back in the fridge for another 30 minutes before we repeat this again one more time. I'm not going to show the third time, but you guys should get the gist of it. Once you finish the third time, leave it in the fridge overnight and we're going to finish off the bread the next day. This is how my bread looked overnight after resting in the fridge. I'm going to dust the top with flour and take it out flour side down on my working surface. Divide the dough in half, and I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty bad at eyeing the sides, by the way. Now, what we want to do with each half is stretch it out into a rectangle. I think mine was around 14 by 8 inches, but I couldn't divide it evenly. But the dough should be somewhat thin by the time you're finished. I realized this would have been a bit easier if I used the rolling pin, so I used that for my second half. Once you have your rectangular dough in place, time to place our cubed up cheeses on it. For this bread, I used some mild cheddar and Swiss, and I cut them into small cubes. I try to place a decent amount where you can still see some dough, but if you want an estimate, I would say 100 grams each. Now we want to roll this dough into a log. Try to roll it relatively tight without tearing the dough. If it does tear a bit, no problem, just keep on continuing until you reach the end and press it down to seal it. When we're done with this half, place it on a tray to rest while we finish up our other half. And as you can tell, my other half looks really weird, so I'm actually going to pre-shape it a bit into a normal rectangular shape before I start rolling it out. Now, since we pre-shaped it, we're going to have to let it rest for 15 minutes before we can roll it out because the gluten's going to resist it and we're definitely not going to be able to roll it out without it tearing. So I didn't show any footage of me rolling out the second one because it's pretty much the same process as the first, but I just used the rolling pin instead. While the bread is doing its final rise for the next 30 to 60 minutes, we can preheat our oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see the puffiness of the dough, and now what we want to do is drizzle some olive oil on top and press it down, kind of like a focaccia. Finish it off with some flaky sea salt, and then put it in the oven for around 20 to 25 minutes, or basically until golden brown. When it's done baking, the cheesy flatbread should look something like this. Slide it off a wire rack to let it cool for at least 10 to 15 minutes before you cut into it. There you have it, a cheesy flatbread that is perfect as an appetizer. The outside is nice and crispy, especially with that crunchy flaky sea salt, while the middle is nice and soft with melty cheese. What more can you ask for? I also want to give a shout out to my good friend who helped supply the cheese for this video. This is a shout out. Try to eat your dinner? No, I'm not letting you. Get some cheesy bread.
Thank you for the cheesy bread, brother. Thanks for the cheese.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and follow my Instagram at Weekend Cooks. Thanks for the support everyone. Glad we made 400 subscribers.